Hello again, my friends. This is SCLC Today TV. I'm your host, Maynard Eaton, and of course, our president and CEO, Dr. Charles Steele Jr. Dr. Steele, we're kicking off Black History Month, and as chairman, as president of SCLC, you certainly know a lot of Black history legends have come through this organization. Is that not true?
Absolutely. As we mentioned last week with our magazine, we're talking about just year 2020, we lost Congressman John Lewis, Dr. Joseph Lowry, and also Dr. C.T. Vivian. And I had working relationships for many years, 40 plus years with all of them. And, man, I have to pinch myself. I said, when I was knee high to a duck, they took me in and worked with me. And I was exposed internationally around the world by traveling with them, not only domestically, but throughout the world, particularly with Dr. Joseph Lowry. And we just live in the memory aspect of how many people can say that Dr. Joseph Lowry picked me up, Reverend John Nettles, working with them, as well as Reverend Dr. C.T. Vivian, right there in Tuscaloosa at First African Baptist Church. And of course, Congressman John Lewis, who spoke for me when I was president and a state senator in Alabama for many, many times and many years, even before I came to Atlanta, roughly 18 years ago.
But we have a living legend on our board. Our chairman is Black history personified, is he not?
Absolutely. None other than the Reverend Dr. Chairman of the board, Lafayette, Bernard Lafayette Jr. Dr. Lafayette has been my friend for many years, and he goes in the category with Dr. Lowry's C.T. Vivian, Dr. C.T. Vivian, and Congressman John Lewis as well. But he's still here, as you said, Maynard. Dr. Lafayette is history in his own right, and I'm looking forward for you and I to have him on in the next week or two before Black History Month is out, because he is an icon that's still with us and still has the legacy of being delegated by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. to create and to coordinate the 1963 March on Washington.
You also have another friend, a historic person who just passed, who just left us, Cicely Tyson. You knew her well, did you not?
Yeah, well, she was an icon in her own right. How many folk can say they knew her personally? I thank God for that. I was the executive producer with Tennille Stewart, Dr. Tennille Stewart from Alabama State, in terms of Miss Tyson. And one Sunday morning, Dr. Tennille Stewart, along with Miss Angela Bassett, was on the phone with me while my wife was cooking breakfast. I got a call from Dr. Tennille Stewart with Angela Bassett on the other end, and they were asking me to help them bring the Rosa Parks story, CBS movie of the week, to Alabama, because they were going to Toronto, Canada. And I said, Dr. Stewart, Miss Bassett, Miss Angela Bassett, I'll be glad to. I said, what you need? They said, we need $380,000. I never will forget it. And my wife was saying, don't do it. Don't put the flap on the limb. I said, I will do it. And she dropped the eggs that she was cooking. So that's a true story, with the exception of her dropping the eggs. My point being is that when we produced that movie in Montgomery, Alabama, I got to build a relationship with Miss Tyson, and it was outstanding. What you're talking about in terms of an iconic legend in her own right. But think about this, Maynard. We went to Libreville, Gabon, West Central Africa. George John England, myself, with Dr. Joseph Lowry, Mrs. Lowry, and we were with none other than Miss Tyson, Miss Cicely Tyson. And we had dinner together. We were on the mission together. And we just had a lovely time. And at that dinner with George John England, before he became judge, we had a intimacy in terms of conversation with Ms. Tyson as well as Dr. Laurie, Mrs. Laurie. Just was outstanding, uplifting in Libreville, Gabon, West Central Africa. Now, we also had an opportunity with the committee at the University of Alabama that I was working with, and with Dr. Joseph Laurie and Reverend John Nettles, who helped us establish that program at the University of Alabama. In terms of Miss Tyson and performing. Many times, man, people live in the atmosphere of seeing these type of programs and opportunities being laid at the door front of their being enhanced, being motivated, being emotional, being spiritually led, and not knowing the history. That is the history of what we did with Dr. Joseph Laurie and SCLC and Reverend John Letters and my good friend at the time, Councilman John England, that we brought about the program at the University of Alabama in terms of freedom and justice and equality of all God's children on Dr. King's birthday. This is a great program at this particular time. But guess what? I was highly criticized when I took a stand against the University of Alabama going to the Fiesta Bowl, because in Arizona they had rescinded on Dr. King's birthday. But now we're proud of that and thank God for it.
Cicely Tyson, though, her roles suggested civil rights and the strength of the Black woman, did she not? Absolutely.
Even when she was there in Montgomery, you know, you have this opportunity. And someone said, Charles, how did you be the associate executive director of the Rosa Parks Story CBS Movie of the Week? I was able to raise some money with none other than, at that time, State Representative John Knight. And I was a state senator. And Senator Hank Sanders, who actually worked with us as well. You know, these are friends of mine who, they don't try to do things for show. They helped me bring this program to Alabama. Senator Hank Sanders, State Representative John Knight. And I couldn't have done it without them and Dr. Tennille Stewart bringing us the opportunity. And I was in Israel, man. Oh, you bringing me out now. I was in Jerusalem, in the state of Israel, when that program came on the air. And my daughter was in the next room, my oldest daughter, Lakeisha, who was on this trip with us. And she called my room and said, Daddy, turn on the TV. They showing the Rosa Parks Story here in Jerusalem, here in the state of Israel. And man, I was so elated. And that's because of the relationship we had with all of the folks that I previously named.
I know I'm concerned to you as a leader of SCLC is this COVID-19 epidemic that continues to plague people of color. Tell us what your thinking is right now about what's going on with this vaccinations, COVID-19. Again, I'm sure it concerns you.
Very disturbing and discouraging. I was just listening to some of the medical experts. Don't have to call their names, but many people probably heard them say it. Well, they are very disturbed on the fact that people of color, particularly Black people and brown people, are not getting the respect and the accessibility to this vaccine. One of the medical experts said just 24 hours ago, less than 24 hours ago, that Black people and brown people should be in the front line of getting this vaccine. And I know many of people who have not received it. I haven't received it myself, Mr. E. My wife and I.
Will you take the vaccine?
Very cautiously. I want to be given the opportunity. Yeah, I do have skepticism, but I'm more positive than I am negative.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I'm encouraged and probably will. But the point being, I've not been contacted when the medical vehicle of accessibility responded to my wife and I and said we'll be contacted, that they were going to provide it. But that's been over 30 days ago. Now, Black people and brown people are 4 times likely to be contagiously infected with this virus, COVID-19, it would be transmitted more likely to people of color, particularly Black people and brown people. And this is disturbing. And the medical expert said in his own words that Black people and brown people should be in the front line of receiving this vaccine because we are more likely to have the transmission of COVID-19 than any other race or group of people because of the susceptibility of our history and where we come from. We've always been the last and the least in terms of sustainability economically. And it all goes back to economics. And that's what they're saying.
Finally, as a civil rights leader, your concerns about right-wing extremists and Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene as dominating the news and seemingly about to dominate politics in America. Right-wing extremists.
Absolutely, Masin, and very untraditionally. You know, who ever heard of a freshman Congress person going to D.C. and just have the opportunity to shut down everything? I mean, you don't even know how to vote, and you're just getting there. You don't know your way to the bathroom. And you're going to have this leverage on the seniority of Congress? See, in Congress, it's all about the seniority. The people with the seniority has the leadership and the leverage of power. So my question is, who are they who are allowing this type of behavior to take place? I heard of this group called, whatever it's called, in terms of her representation.
QAnon?
Is that what it is? QAnon, that's it. That's it. That's the name of it. QAnon seem to be taking over the politics of the Republican Party. So I guess where we're going is to the fact that the Republican Party will be known very expeditiously known as the QAnon Party of the nation versus the Democrat as well as the independents. And that is a sad commentary for this country.
Certainly disturbing. Thank you again, Dr. Steele. This has been SCLC TV. We'll see you next week.